This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today to be joined by Adam Smith here over Zoom. Adam, really appreciate your time today. And how's everything, first of all?
I love doing interviews with you. I prefer it in person, but I love looking at all the posters and stuff behind that you've got. I deck my little study up in the same way with lots of pictures of fighters and things, and it's great to see. No, I'm good. Boxing's in a great place. Quite tired after the last 72 hours. Well, actually, if you go back, I mean, how many evening events were Ben Eubank as well. I think the evening events just puts you off kilter a little bit. So it was tiring, I thought, last week, but it was great fun. And as for the fight night, one for the ages, loved it. I thought it was brilliant at Spurs. The atmosphere was incredible, the storytelling phenomenal, and the fight lived up or well beyond anything we'd hoped for. So, yeah, it was a savage, grueling affair. The two guys left everything in the ring. Huge respect for them. Then straight into the Usyk Dubois announcement, which is a massive fight for not only for British boxing but for world boxing. It's great that it's landed at Wembley, and I know that there was a lot of psychological warfare going on yesterday with the low blow and the Don Charles stuff about whether he was cheating or lying. I just found that I understand it. Obviously, I understand the energy and understand them trying to sort of get an advantage if they feel in some way. But I think this is a brilliant fight, and I think that what was slightly sort of lost yesterday was how good a fight this is, and the fact that Daniel, 2 years on, is a different animal to when he first went in with Usyk. And you could hear him getting frustrated with everything, saying, "All I want to do is just get on and move and talk about July 19th." And yeah, I thought it was unfair on having a pound for pound great there, and I mean a great, and sort of having to listen to a lot of that. And I'm not surprised he sort of walked off at the end because he'd had enough. Yeah, look, it's a lively start, but I think they'll both go to camp, and we'll see a really great fight on July the 19th. And it's part of a fantastic season of boxing, May, June. There's so much going on, and particularly in Britain, which is great to see.
You mentioned the how a lot of the talk yesterday was all about the low blow. Were you surprised that out of everyone on that stage that just wanted to move on from the low blow talk, it was actually Daniel himself that was talking about it mainly?
I'm with Daniel. I mean, it's past. Who really? I mean, I know that they want to drum it up. We did the promo about it. It's all about could he have had that chance? And Don Charles saying he should have been the world heavyweight champion. No, he wasn't. The referee deemed what he deemed, and Daniel Dubois, he didn't win the fight. He lost the fight. And whether it should have been deemed low or not, and people have got different opinions on that. The referee made a decision on the night. He had time to recover. Oleksandr used all his experience to utilize that time, and he came back and won the fight. If it was so rough, Daniel could have come back and won the fight still. He didn't. Um, I thought Daniel did well in the fight, and I think he could do possibly even better second time around. But he's still got a huge amount to do to upset Oleksandr Usyk because I see no signs of Usyk slipping. In many ways, I think he's getting better because remember he started boxing in his teens. He wasn't a sort of 6, 7 year old. So he had a long amateur career, but he's only had 23 professional fights. And I thought the last 3, 4 rounds against Usyk in the second fight were fantastic. He was getting better and better and better. And I think when he gets hold of someone and he works them out and he makes those slight adjustments and he uses those beautiful feet and tires you out. And trust me, Josh, I've been in the middle of the training camp, and it's one of the most incredible, sort of dedicated, professional outfits you will see. They leave no stone unturned. So, despite his talent and his flexibility and his skill set, they put all the work in and more. And I think what that would have done would just have inspired him to go back and train even harder. Um, what happened yesterday. But if it George and Don and the team believe it's got Daniel a psychological edge, that's cool too, because Daniel needs everything for this fight. But I think he believes he can win it. And I spent some time with him yesterday, and I think him and Oleksandr are both in great shape already. I think that they're the epitome of athletes, of great athletes, of dedicated athletes, and they're ready. They'll be ready to go. And I think it will all what matters is what happens in the ring. And you're getting okay, Joe Parker would have something to say about it, but you're getting the two best heavyweights, or the IBF champion and the one with all the other belts who's been undisputed and is the pound for pound king in the ring together at Wembley. Let's celebrate it. Let's celebrate what a great fight it is.
When we look at the fight itself, we know what Alexander Usyk's going to do. We know what he does. How does Daniel need to try and approach that and make sure he can't let Usyk do the simply stupendous work that he normally does? Because no one's been able to figure him out yet. What does Daniel need to do to be the first man to figure him out?
When you were saying that, I was going back to the first round at Tottenham when Usyk fought AJ. He got centre ring and got that jab, took the jab of AJ away straight away, got his own going. And he's a very, very hard man to work out. I mean, how do you get sparring partners? The whole thing is so difficult. Tyson Fury is a very clever fighter and a very, very elite fighter, and he couldn't do it. I mean, I thought he boxed really well second time actually, and just still fell short. And although he says he believes he won both fights and he tweets that, I'm not sure deep down he believes that. I think that Tyson knows how good Usyk is. AJ knows how good Usyk is. Tony Bellew obviously does. I think Derek Chisora, I thought Usyk beat Chisora. I remember Derek calling me up afterwards saying, "Oh, I won that fight. I was better in that fight." And he was pretty annoyed at the commentary, and I still stand by the fact I thought Usyk won that fairly comfortably. I thought Derek put an amazing, amazing fight plan together and a great shift, and I think he pushed him hard. But the skill was with Usyk, and that was when he was only growing into a heavyweight. Um, I just think he's a one-off, and at 38, could Father Time catch up with him? That could be one thing, that the reflexes or the speed's not quite as good, but I haven't seen that. And normally you can see that over a process. I think Daniel's got to go in there. He's got a fantastic jab, which he showed against Joshua particularly. He's obviously got incredible guts and bottles now. If people were questioning after Joe Joyce and Usyk the first time, he's got it all together now. He's become a man really at 27. So this is the best possible chance, because I think psychologically with Don Charles in his corner and his dad, I think he's right. I think he feels great, and he's got a wonderful array of punches. He's got a great left hand, a great right hand. He's got decent feet. He's a good fighter, Dubois. He's a really good fighter. And if there's anyone out there to give Usyk trouble, maybe it is a very, very fired up Dubois, preventing him getting any space, just doing anything he can in there. Obviously, they'll target the body again. They feel that is a slight weakness. I don't know if Usyk has any weaknesses, but they believe that. And I suppose a big, hard hitting heavyweight just trying to grind down Usyk, which is what they've got to do. They probably need that 18-foot tiny ring that Conor Benn had. He probably needs to borrow a really small ring. I just still think that Usyk's skill, and he's brilliant at rematches, is going to make it very hard for Dubois. But I think it's closed. I think the distance between them definitely is closed, and I think they believe, because of the body shot stroke low blow, that they can get to him. And I think they feel, which is definitely right, that he's a more accomplished and better all-round fighter now, 2 years later, than he was. One thing, Joshua, slightly worries me about the Dubois situation is that he didn't fight in February. And I just think that was unfortunate with illness. But I think that it will be 10 months since the Joshua fight. You didn't get a lot of rounds against Joshua. So you think back to Hrgovic, and yes, he got rounds against Hrgovic and Miller. But Usyk's had these 12 rounders, one after the other, and he's coming off a fight in December. So he won't have had as long between the fights, if that makes sense. And so although Dubois will be fresher, younger by 11 years, very hungry, and the best possible time for him to catch Usyk, definitely. If he's going to do it, it's going to be on July the 19th. This is the moment. This is the opportunity on home soil. I already know people that think Dubois will win, as opposed to last time where I think no one really gave him much of a chance out in Poland. So that's good. We need that. We need the British underdog with a real chance. We want Wembley packed. And I think Wembley will be busy, because I think Usyk's fans are also here. But I just think Usyk is a phenomenon. I really do. And I mean, being close to him in training camp as well, I've seen what he does. And there isn't going to be anything other than the most consummate camp for this. So what Dubois got to do is just try and take him out of his comfort zone, hammer away to head and body, and find a stoppage because he's not going to win it on points. I don't think. But it is unpredictable. It's much more unpredictable than the first time around and much more interesting. And it's the best fighting the best. It's just, I think Usyk is going to go down in history as one of the greatest heavyweights that's ever lived, one of the greatest cruiserweights that's ever lived, one of the greatest fighters that's ever lived, one of the greatest human beings that's ever lived. I mean, how many more plaudits? He's not Muhammad Ali. He hasn't, but he's got the humor, he's got the class, he's got the love of a nation, he's got the love of everyone else's nations. He's just brilliant. He's peculiar, he's maverick, he's friendly, he's kind, he's humble, he's a family man, he's an incredibly good fighter. And where are the weaknesses? I mean, I think we're going to look back at Oleksandr Usyk as one of the best 3 or 4 heavyweights that's ever lived. And that's unbelievable, thinking that 4 or 5 years ago, he couldn't even make heavyweight. It would be a joke. No joke. He's done everyone. And if he does Dubois twice, what's left? Parker, a homecoming in Ukraine. We're going to have the same conversations. Can Parker beat him? Dubois and Parker are very good fighters. Usyk's a phenomenon. So, a one-off. Doesn't mean he can't lose. He has lost in the amateurs. Doesn't mean he can't lose. But it's a pretty hard puzzle to solve.
Absolutely. Just looking back at the weekend quickly, Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., you were there at the very front of it all and seeing everything. Um, how did you score the fight originally? Because a lot of people that I've spoke to kind of had it swaying the other way towards Conor Benn. Some people had it a draw, but Eubank Jr. ultimately the winner by unanimous decision.
Yeah, interesting. Always different speculation, different viewpoints. And the punch stats were interesting too, weren't they? Coming out pretty much all in Eubank's favour, which talks of a one-sided fight, which it wasn't. I thought it was a great fight. I thought it was a fantastic build-up, an amazing night made by Senior coming. The story was complete. The ring walks were epic. The fight was a fight for the ages. Was it a technical masterclass like Bivol and Batebiev, that level? No, of course not. It wasn't even for a world title. It doesn't matter. These guys are very good fighters, and they put on for their dads and for everybody there and all the people watching live on the zone and all around the world. They put on a fight to remember. They both left their heart, souls, spirits in the ring. They wanted it so bad. It ebbed and flowed. Declan Rice was sitting behind me. He was a big Conor Benn fan. He says, Conor's going to win. After 3, 4 rounds, I turned around. I said, I think you might be right. I think Conor's going to win this fight. And rarely do I feel that. Well, going back to AJ Usyk, after a round, I put my mic down. I said, Matt, I think he's going to get beaten tonight, AJ. Oh, no, loads of times ago. And I just felt it from the first round. But this one, I didn't. Chris got hurt in the 3rd round. There was that little wobble of legs. I'm thinking, is the rehydration going to be an issue? Is Conor actually going to do better in the second half of this fight? At one point, I thought Conor Benn could win. But I did think Eubank deserved it in the end. I thought he gritted and gutted it out in the championship rounds. I thought he was very good. He clock watched a bit. I thought huge credit to him with all the constraints and restraints that have been put on him. He ended up getting through it and boxing. It was probably the greatest win of his life under the circumstances. Maybe not his greatest performance, maybe not Conor Benn's greatest performance, but together, I thought Chris came out of it amazingly. Conor came out of it amazingly, covered in glory. I thought the cards were too wide. I thought it was a closer fight to the naked eye. I thought probably by a couple of rounds, Eubank deserved it. I thought and I told Conor that afterwards. But I did say in commentary that I thought the winner would be obviously elated. The loser the next morning would be devastated And how would they almost walk the streets? That's why I wanted to go and see Conor afterwards. I went to his dressing room and I went eyeball to eyeball and I said, don't you feel sorry for yourself in the morning? Don't you think that anybody who saw and witnessed that fight will think anything other than that was an unbelievable performance, right? Going up in weight, into untested waters, going up against someone much more experienced, all the pressure of dealing with that stadium, everything on him. I said, you hold your head up high Sunday morning. You're going to be back. It's good. It's a learning experience. And yeah, I can see different scores, but I thought the right man won. And look, we'd love to see a rematch. The public would, the fighters, I'm sure, certainly Conor would for revenge. And on the night, I wanted a rematch because I wanted it to go on. Now I think give them some time. Just give them some time to rest. If they did a rematch, would they change the weight? Would it have to be a little bit higher for Chris? Would it have to be maybe 162, 163? What would Conor feel about that? Should Conor go down a bit and try and win a world title at a lower weight? What will Chris do? Go up to super middle? Or do they just do it now while they've done it once and it's sort of there and they can stay around that sort of weight? I don't know. It's a difficult one. His Excellency wants the rematch in September. Of course, we as fight fans want the rematch. Why wouldn't you? Could it be as good as the first one? Ben Eubank 2 wasn't. It won't have the drama of senior coming in late and all that. I mean, it just was a perfect storm, an incredible fight to live up to the hype, and one I'll never forget. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed being there.
Talking on the rematch, obviously there has been reports from the Ring magazine that Turki Al-Sheikh does want the rematch for September at Tottenham, and I believe that the clauses of the contracts are the exact same as this time. So the same weights, the same rehydration clause. I'm guessing the same ring as well. Do you feel something needs to maybe be changed though, just to put it on a bit more like
Great question, Joshua. It's a great question, and it's one that's got to be considered. I think it's all very well making an agreement before a fight, even thinking we're not going to have a rematch. Like I remember with Khan and Brook, which was too late, by the way. We could have had three by the time it happened. Same with Mayweather and Pacquiao. But these fights, like AJ and Fury, which I think will happen, especially after what Fury did yesterday. But these fights, these great fights take time to make, and sometimes they are a little bit late. And with Khan and Brook, I'll be honest with you, we wanted a rematch out of it at Sky. We thought we would go again. 500,000 pay-per-view buys, and then maybe even more for the rematch. But unfortunately, Kel won one-sided fight, so Amir wasn't there, and it was there and was very brave. But you know what I mean. It wasn't the great fight that we'd hoped for. It was an amazing night, and I still get goosebumps thinking about the piano of Kel's ring walk, and similar like with Eubank and Ben at Spurs, goosebumps sort of type. And we love that. That we couldn't go again with. This one we can, but I do think you have to look back and think, okay, do we go again with that? I think the 18-foot ring was fantastic. I think maybe hard on Eubank, but maybe you give Eubank a couple of extra pounds. I don't know. I think you have to look at. I thought at times Eubank looked really drained in there, and they both went to hospital. Health and safety comes first. Of course, they put that in there, and Chris accepted it, by the way, but they put it in there to because Conor was jumping up. But really, Conor had his last fight at super welterweight, and he walks around bigger now. So yes, he did look the smaller man in the ring, and they have to look at that rehydration and the weight. That is the one real sticking point. But let's try and work it out. Let's try and make it fair, or as fair as we can, and for the good of the fighters to earn them as much money as possible, and for the boxing world and the public. Let's try and make it happen again if we can, because I think it's the fight they'll both take. If the money's right and the weight's right and they both are happy, they'll take it again. I don't see why they wouldn't. And His Excellency has changed boxing in the last 2 years, so of course they'll want to go again. But Eddie said after the fight, maybe we drop Conor down. I think if he drops down, I think it's tough. 106 down, 147. What Kell Brook did with Golovkin, it's difficult. Maybe he settles around at super welter again. But Nigel said to me after the fight, Eddie wants to bring him down. Maybe Nigel said, let's do the rematch now and then bring him down, because if you bring him down and then up again, going to play as well with Conor's body. So yeah, I think if they do the rematch, they should do it next. Um, but they should only do the rematch if it's right. Would I love to see it as much as you?
For Conor, obviously, a lot of the talk, like you mentioned, has been going back down to 147 now, but it's been over 3 years now since he's actually had to make that weight. He's had the two fights in America since then, where he both fought them at 154. How tough is that cut back down going to be? Because 3 years not making your championship weight, it's a long time to not do it.
And Chris as well. He was a super middleweight and he's made 160 pounds and it's tough. And the older you get, the harder it is to make weight. For Conor, yeah, that's again another good question. He hasn't had to worry about that, which is why I thought Conor would always put a good performance in on Saturday because he was fighting, he wasn't drained down, and he could be a little bit freer. I didn't know whether he'd be able to take the power of Eubank. I didn't know whether he'd fade in the second half, but I thought they did a great job, Tony and Conor, and I think he fought with a bit of freedom as well as the pressure on his shoulders to win. I think the body was freer than it was for Eubank. So it's going to be tough. It'll be tough, but it's they're not the beasts at welterweight they once were, and I think that I think Conor could find a way on that sort of performance to potentially win a world title. Let's see. There's a lot of options out there. The great thing is that British boxing is absolutely flying. The big stadium shows. We got one at GBM coming up in Doncaster on May the 23rd. Hopefully another one in the summer. We've got Fabio Wardley, who against, we're not sure now, maybe a Philip Hergovich or someone at Portman Road with Ed Sheeran singing along. Hopefully it'll be a great night there. You know, Callum Simpson is at Barnsley the same night. I'm gutted that they are. I was speaking to Callum about it the other night because I don't like missing a Callum Simpson fight, and gutted I won't be there on that night. But yeah, we've got a brilliant night at Portman Road. Obviously Wembley. These stadium shows are fantastic, and British boxing is absolutely buzzing. It's great, isn't it? And you see all the top tier shows, GBM. You see the Box Nation shows. You know, the hub of British boxing is still there, very much so. But these huge shows and the alliance now of Frank and DAZN and Eddie in there and sort of almost competing against each other to see who can put the best shows on. And Rick Reno threw the bomb in, didn't he, on Thursday last week, saying, you know, "Come on, promoters, you know, we don't want any rubbish." And obviously, that was obviously an attack at all the promoters around the world. I think a carefully chosen one from Ring Magazine, they can put these big fights on. I think sometimes it's not as easy, but we're seeing these huge shows now. I can't wait for Kakache Wood. I can't wait for Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen's rematch. I can't wait for Terry Harper and Zimmerman and everything that comes with the GBM show in Doncaster. I can't wait to go to Scotland for Josh Taylor and Echo Esserman, and that's just May. What fights, what nights we're getting. British boxing's well and truly back, and it's so good, isn't it? Just to feel the fight fans again at Tottenham on Saturday night, to feel what we're going to get in Doncaster in a few weeks. Outdoor stadiums are just special. Portman Road, Fabio's home. They love him in Ipswich. I've been there with him. They absolutely adore him. And then we're going to get the huge fight at Wembley with Usyk and Dubois in July. I mean, add to that everything that's going on in America and Saudi this weekend. I mean, just taking Britain as an island. Wow.
Looking at Saudi this weekend, obviously, it is Canelo in the main event. And then if we go back to Saturday, the WBC said that they would grant the winner of Eubank versus Benn to face Canelo. So indicates that we're going to see Canelo take on Chris Eubank Jr. soon. Canelo has welcomed the fight and said he'd love to do it at Wembley. How open would you be to see Canelo versus Eubank Jr.?
I mean, how open would I be to see Canelo at Wembley when I've watched Canelo from a little boy come through to become the superstar he is? We'd all be there, wouldn't we? I mean, it's a bit like Usyk fighting at Wembley. We want to be there for these occasions when the greatest come over to our shores. And they constantly say, you heard Aegis and Alex yesterday saying about how this is the birthplace of boxing. These are the best fans. We're the best place. Fighters want to come here. Isn't it fantastic? I remember Deontay Wilder commentating with me for AJ Klitschko, and he was like, man, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. And I think fighters just yeah, they're drawn here, and I would love Canelo to come here. His English is so good now, and he's such a great guy to be around. The fight week, could you imagine? Yeah, we love it. Of course, we love that fight. Canelo against Eubank or any other Brit or anyone. We'd have Canelo's skull there, wouldn't we? It wouldn't matter. But look, Canelo's got business to take care of this weekend. I think he takes care of that in emphatic fashion. And I'm not talking about what Nigel said. I think he gave away a lot of obviously stuff from the Conor Benn camp with William Skull, and maybe the Skull camp would have plenty to say about that this week. However, it comes down to the night, and Skull's a good fighter. He's decent. He's unbeaten. He's awkward. But I think Canelo is just on a totally different level, a completely different stratosphere. Unless, again, there's any signs of things changing. No signs to me. He goes in there and does a number on William Skull on Saturday night, and yeah, we move on. But we've got to get Canelo and Crawford in September, which I think we will. I think that will be a big Ring Magazine event, and yeah, I think this year is looking. I said in 2024, I think that 2025 could be the best year we've ever had in boxing. Could you imagine if Fury and Joshua signed for September as well? Can you imagine that in Britain? And then you get two or three big Riyadh season nights. I mean, Bivol Beterbiev 3. This could be the best year ever. I mean, I've been covering boxing for Sky since 1994, and we've had some amazing fights and nights and months and years. I don't know, we're in April, and I'm so excited about what's coming up, what's been, and what's coming up. Yeah, it's, I mean, it's just amazing. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. Absolutely. Just last one from me here, or last few. GBM, 23rd of May at Doncaster. An update to the card, and no fights have fallen through yet. But I just find it very interesting that Maxi Hughes versus Archie Sharp will now be for the WBC Silver Championship, which would make the winner of that fight mandatory for the world title, wouldn't it?
It would. I love it. I love the whole card. I love the whole show. I love GBM. You know that I'm associated with Izzy and Mitch. I've enjoyed working with them. They gave me a really good start after my cancer, and I'll forever be grateful to them and to Ollie Weingarten at Summit for sort of getting me back involved. And GBM have gone from strength to strength. And we talk about this year and if fights fall through, they've had a couple of really unlucky moments, but they've got through them and the show goes on and you learn and you move on and you move on with vigor and with intelligence. And this is an intelligent boxing card. To have Terry Harper, the first world title fight we're going to see on GBM at Doncaster. It's her homecoming. Fantastic. Against an unbeaten fighter as well, defending her title at the Echo Power Stadium, outdoors. Doncaster is a sleeping town, a sleeping place for boxing. We've had some phenomenal nights back there with the Doncaster Dome, with Jay McDonnell won his world title there, of course, Gavin McDonnell, great nights. Even Dave Colwell, our good friends, had some right scraps in the Doncaster Dome. Barry Jones was talking to me the other day about the Assolino Freitas fight. We love Doncaster. Fight fans, Yorkshire, Leeds, Doncaster, Sheffield, Barnsley. Yeah, a great night in Barnsley the week later, but this area of Doncaster particularly special. And of course, we'd love Josh Padley to have been on, but you look at Maxi Hughes and Reese Mould, just seen Josh Warrington back, the Three Musketeers. They're going to liven things up. Maxi's in a fantastic fight with Archie Sharp. Reese has got a really important fight against Lewis Sylvester as well. You've got the great fight with the women that we've been waiting for with Tyson Gallagher and Ebony Jones. You've got obviously Terry in the world title fight, a massive soft spot for what she's done for British boxing, a three-weight world champion on a GBM show. I don't think Izzy and Mitch would have, I mean, Izzy might have conned and done that and said, oh yeah, we're going to have this, that and the other. I think Mitch would have been sitting by and going, really? Are you sure? I mean, maybe a British title fight, a world title fight in 3 years, a stadium show, a card which could rival any other domestic card in the country. It's fabulous. You look at Kakache Wood, which has got a brilliant undercard, by the way, in Nottingham. You look at Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen at the Copper Bosch, which is going to be another amazing night. You look at Josh Taylor Echo Esserman, and the brilliant Moses Atalma. Look at that night. Can't wait for that in Glasgow. But this is right up there with them. We're not talking small hall. We're talking big fight feel, huge production values, DAZN, and a stadium show, which, by the way, Joshua, is selling so well. Thousands are going to be there. I'm hoping for double figures here. And I think that we're going to get a lot of families there. I think it's going to be a festival. I really do. We're going to have lots of things planned for the week. We're going to get all the old sort of champions from the Yorkshire area. I think Izzy loves his cricket. Maybe we'll get some cricket stuff. It's going to be a fantastic night out. And I think it's going to be one that's people are going to want to be at. I've said it on other interviews. If I wasn't commentating on this fight for DAZN, if I wasn't working in my GBM capacity and I was just a fan, I'd come up and see this fight. I love what they're doing. Ed Hardy, by the way, we've got a little bromance going on. I know we can't be biased towards fighters, and if he gets beat, he gets beat, and I'll call it. Because when you pick up the mic, you can't have any of that. But what a young fighter he is, and what a young man. To come from the farm industry, he's going to bring a whole new lot of eyeballs onto the sport. And we're going to get him, hopefully. I'm sure that Lee Eaton will drum something up, but in on a tractor through the Doncaster entrance, we'd love that, wouldn't we? He's great. Taz Nadeem, the DAZN execs love Taz Nadeem because he just brings excitement. So it's not just Matchroom and Queensbury. Of course, they're at a different level, but it's not that Matchroom and Queensbury are just being talked about in the DAZN boardroom. GBM are, because GBM are putting on really good shows with budgets that are hard, with fighters that, okay, maybe they can't get a Daniel Dubois or an Oleksandr. You can't get those fighters yet. But they've managed to get Terry Harper to headline the show, thanks to Matchroom. Nice relationship going on there between Izzy and Eddie. Let's have a nice relationship with Frank. I'm very close to all of them. So let's help each other out. GBM are putting on good shows. Fighters need shows like that. Fans need shows like that. Izzy wants to dine at the top table. So it's only a matter of time before His Excellency is going to have a little look and say, if he hasn't already, by the way, and said, GBM thing looks pretty interesting, pretty cool, pretty fun. I might come to one of those. He's a fight fan. So let's see. Maybe Doncaster's the debut. Maybe we'll get him over to Donny and give him some a good Yorkshire treatment. It'll be fantastic. My dad's from Leeds. We will. They love it, don't they? The Sheffield boys, the Doncaster boys. Something about Yorkshire. I think he'd like it, His Excellency, wouldn't he? We'll get him over for fish and chips and for a nice day out at Doncaster, a night out. Then we could take him up to Hydro for Josh Taylor. Why not? Let's do it.
Well, Adam, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Really good to catch up. And yeah, we look forward to everything coming up. So much coming up in boxing as we've covered today. So yeah, thank you for your time.
Cheers, Joshua. Take care, mate.